With this little video tutorial, I'd like to show you how I make my Frida dolls. This is Frida Rose, or it's going to be Frida Rose when I'm done. Hoop your frame. This is the big one, 20 by 28, or in inches, 8 by 11. Hoop it with a tearaway stabilizer and choose a background fabric. I have chosen a neutral colored linen because I love stitching on linen. I have pinned my fabric to the stabilizer, as you can see, so the stabilizer is the only thing hooped in my frame. Now I will stitch a kind of a position stitch for my embroidery, which I'm later going to use when I'm going to attach the back to the front of the doll. You see, I start stitching the back. If I push this one, you can see the back of the doll here on the display on my embroidery machine. So let's get started. When I stitch this position, I choose a thread color similar to the background fabric so that it won't be seen if little bits of it are in the seam when I attach the back to the front. Just a little tip. Here you can see the position outline for the doll, or the back of the doll, and it is a couple of millimeters larger than the seam that's going to attach the front to the back, so it should be covered. In the design order, the color for the little circles to combine with the markers are orange. I'll choose the same color of thread. It's the easiest thing, and then they won't be as visible as if I chose orange. My markers are little circles, just in a single running stitch. Step in the design order is her neck, and that is of course in a skin tone. The next part is her hair, and that's black, very black. So I prefer to change my bobbin thread to black so that the white thread from underneath will not show through. Now I've stitched the hair, the neck and the boots. The next step in the design order is her hand, and after that comes the sleeves, and I'll show you how I make them in a little while. First I stitch the position stitch on the sleeve. Then I place my fabric, in this case a white piece of linen, ordinary white linen. Then I stitch the tack down stitch. And even though it has different colors in the design order, I use the white thread for all steps. If this sleeve had a blanket stitch as well, it will come now. But since I've decided that this sleeve is going to have kind of a lacy look, I will now stitch this pattern directly. Stitch more in each sleeve, and that's the outline, and I choose white for that one as well, and the other sleeve is made in the exact same way. Sleeves done. Now the next part is the hem, or the lower part of her skirt, and first I'll stitch a placement stitch. Maybe you think this doesn't go to the boots, but there will be a decorative satin to finish off the skirt in a nice and proper way. That was the position stitch for the skirt, or the hem of the skirt. Now I will place my, if I can do that, still holding the video camera. I've chosen a black fabric for this one, and the tack down and the decorative and securing stuff. I have to cut this one here, and the securing blanket stitch are black, both of them, so it'll be in one go. And after that I will trim. The upper part of the skirt and the top of the blouse are made in the exact same way, with a position stitch and a tack down stitch, and finally also a blanket stitch. And on the blouse there will also be a satin to make a nice finish on the top of her dress. You'll see in a while. When a satin stitch on top of an applique part is this narrow, it is not going to cover a particularly wide seam allowance. So therefore it's important when you trim that you trim as close as you can with a very sharp and pointed scissor the edge here. Also, when I trim for the raw edge here, I have a very narrow seam allowance, as you can see. I like raw edges, but I don't like a lot of fraying. So there's only a few more decorations to make to the back of this doll. The earrings, as you can see, have just been stitched, and then comes the flowers in her hair and at the bottom of her hem, and the final decorative stitch on the outer hem of her skirt. And that's it for the back. Then I'm going to make the front, and it's actually made in almost the same way, or it is the same way, but at the final step you are going to attach the back to the front, and I will get back to you then. The front is made, the start of the front is made in the exact same way. You have your hoop with tearaway stabilizer, you have your background fabric, and then you just follow the design order, almost as on the back. There is a hand, there are another flowers, and yeah. See you. The back of my Frida is now done, and I'm ready to unhoop her and to remove the stabilizer outside the placement line. If you can get the other pieces away, then it's okay, otherwise it doesn't matter. Just unhoop her and remove the tearaway stabilizer and lay her aside till you have stitched the front in the same way. See ya!